China's Great Wall of Debt by Dinny McMahon. We've often assumed that China is an emerging global economic superpower and it's going to overtake the US in its current position of dominance. And we tend to all just take that as fact. This book presents the case that China actually has a lot of serious obstacles to that goal. I was interested in this book because during the pandemic, I was really questioning a lot of China's numbers, their coronavirus numbers. It just seemed outright suspicious. And in general, I've been noticing in the news a lot of authoritarian, questionable things coming out of China. So naturally, I'm kind of curious about their economy. That's basically what this book is all about. If what this author's saying is right, then China is in one scary situation, like a big economic bubble that's going to burst at a scale that affects the 1.4 billion people who live there. I don't know how that will look, and the author doesn't either, but it is scary, the list of things that he goes through that points to big trouble for China ahead. What's going on in China right now is my worst nightmare. The government is so involved in the markets that it strangles out all of the common sense that would prevail if they were a little more capitalism oriented, like they were back a few decades ago. But with them turning more to authoritarianism, more to socialism, you get this scary situation where the government bureaucracy is so overpowering to the market forces. And it's like the nightmare scenario in the old Soviet Union, where you have the people who are in charge of factories that have every incentive to lie about what their factory is actually producing because their boss wants certain numbers. So basically the Chinese economy, in one word, is opaque. It's very unclear what the numbers actually are. He talks about how ever since 2008, China's debt to GDP ratio has been growing at an alarming rate, which is a sign that there's bad news ahead. He talks about the incentive system for the bankers in China, which is scary. I should also mention that the author lived in China for 10 years. He learned Chinese and he was really involved with the culture there. And so a lot of what he's saying is on the ground knowledge, which is fascinating. This was a mind-blowing read if half of what he's saying is true. And I think I'm just waiting to see over the next 5 or 10 years this rolling disaster play out on a global scale. If he's right, then China is most likely due for a massive collapse at some level, at some point in the not too distant future, and it will affect global markets. So that's something to keep in mind. I was immensely involved all the way through this book, and now I'm going to read another book on China just to verify, get a second opinion, because he's got me very curious. 4 stars. If you have any recommendations, leave them in the comments below.